Okay, so I am going to quickly do an introductory video to about R, for very basic thing, for very beginners, like real beginners. So what I've been noticing whenever I try to teach R to absolute beginners, and these are, you might not have encountered R. This might be the first time you can encounter it completely, and the only thing you've ever used is something like Excel, for instance. Or if you're really, you're capable with Excel, but you've never done R. And I've noticed that people like that, like if I've ever taught students, they tend to initially struggle with the idea of objects in R. So maybe you're like that. So if you are, then I thought maybe this explanation might be useful. If not, I mean, that's fine. Maybe you can find somewhere else, or you can feed back to me, and I might be able to improve on this. But so I just wanted to make a quick comparison between R and Excel, because I just kind of noticed something that is fundamentally very similar between these two things, even though they do very different things in terms of the graphics user interface. So for instance, with Excel, it's like everything's like up here on the top, and you can just click and choose different settings. Whereas in R, it's just this space. There's not really much menus you can choose from, and you basically, it's a free playground for completely unguided in terms of what you can do. Like you can just do. You're on your own with R in a way. So it doesn't have a very user-friendly interface. So to start off with, in Excel we have, when you open up Excel, it opens up an empty file with this kind of empty space with a lot of cells, but they're all blank. There's nothing in there. So if you've ever had a chance to look at an Excel data, or for instance a CSV file, and open it up in text, some kind of text editor, if it's an empty CSV file, there'll be absolutely nothing in there. And so you only start populating the data, you actually start containing data in even an Excel file or a CSV file once you start actually entering stuff into the cell. And that's actually very similar to R in a sense, that R actually doesn't have anything in the memory when you open it up. It's just a blank space like this. It's completely empty. In Excel, the fundamental unit, the smallest unit that you usually use as a user is the cell. So in a cell, you might type something 1, 2, 3, or A, B, C. And then so each cell A1, A2, or A3 has a value or data stored in it, and these are 1, 2, 3, and then this A, B, C. But then Excel actually is quite clever in this sense that it actually, once you enter this, it knows that this is, well, it says general here, but it knows that this is a number, so you can do actual numerical operations on these. But it knows these are characters, so Excel actually knows the different types of data that you input in it. And similarly in R, it's actually the concept is quite similar. So the fundamental unit of R is something called objects. In R, when you open up an R window or an R, the program, it opens up with something called console. It doesn't open up a file like in Excel, but you can open up something called a document, which is basically where this is where you can write your script or the commands, and you can save it if you want to. So, but this is basically very similar to, well, in a way, it's kind of like what goes on underneath the hood in Excel. You just have to do it yourself in R. So let's say that you want to assign something, like something you want to recreate something like A1, 2, 3, A, B, C, 6 cells. So in R, the basic unit is something called objects, and objects they don't exist in R when you open it up. It's just a blank memory space, nothing's in there, just like Excel. So you have to assign it. Just like in Excel, you have to assign it to a cell, but not to a cell in R. It's an object. So we can let's call this object A1 just to make it consistent with Excel's cell. So this is A1 is 1. So what I'm doing here is I'm calling this thing object A1, and I'm assigning it. So this less than symbol and a minus symbol together is a left arrow, and that means assigning. So you're assigning 1 to A1. So now this is an object that I've assigned 1 to. Now if I execute that, in R's memory now there's an object called A1 and which contains this value 1. And R knows that A1 is a numeric, so this is a number. R knows that this is a number. So we can do something similar, and let's just call these A1, A2, A3, and execute this one, execute this one. So now R has in its memory an A2 object with a value of 2, A3 object with a value of 3, and all of these, so A2 is a numeric, A3 is also a numeric. So R knows that these are numbers. So let's go to the next one, A4. Now I'm going to assign it a character, A. So these quotes well, this is a kind of shorthand to tell R that this is a character. And now that's it, right? So I'm going to execute a line 4, execute line 5, and execute line 6. So now R knows that A4 contains the object value of A, and this object has the class of character, so it knows that this is a character, and it should be the same for A5, and then, yes, and then ditto for A6. So now we got these objects A1 to A6, which contain these values 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, and R knows that these are numbers and characters respectively. And this is very similar to what we found out with Excel, is that these cells contain the values 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, and Excel knows that A1 to A3 are numbers, numerics, and A4 to A6 are characters. And so Excel does this at the cell level, whereas R does this at the object level. So object is the smallest unit of data that you use in R. And then with R's objects, because these are numbers, you can do operations, like, simple operations, and R will return that is A1 times 2 is 2. And then you can do things more sophisticated, like A1 plus A2 multiplied by A3, that is 9, because that's 1 plus 2 times 3, so 3 times 3 is 9, like that. And it also has things like sum. C is a function to string together objects into what's called a vector. So that we won't really go into that too much right now, but if you sum it up, then you get 6, because 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 6. So if we do this similar thing, I don't know if it works. We can try it out. Does it work? So it doesn't work with the A4 to A6 because these are characters, and characters don't really, you can't do math operations on characters, so these are saying that it's not really working on this one, right? So R actually knows these things. And it's very similar to Excel, for instance. So if we do 1 times 2 is the same thing. You can do sum of these 3, and it'll give you back 6. So it's like this equals operator here, this function. This is an Excel function. It's exactly the same thing as having this sum. This is an R function. It does the same thing. Just only in R, you just have to basically specify a lot of these by hand, by typing them out. Whereas in Excel, you just you can just do click or drag and select the range. So maybe this might help get to grips with the basic concept that you need to understand R or to use R, and hopefully they might help you out in your further studies. If not, I'm open to feedback. Maybe there's other ways to explain this as well. Anyway, thanks for listening. You take care. Have a good day.